Grand and glorious morning to all of you. I don't know about you. I'm going to give the National Weather Service a call this morning. I'm going to say, I want you to go back to the beginning of the year and find out just how many days have started out with beautiful blue skies like this year. I've never seen a year like this. It's been awesome. Got to thinking about beautiful blue skies and awesome mornings, especially when it comes to what was going on in Egypt with Moses. They're getting ready to come upon the last plague. Remember, there were 10 plagues that were visited? Oh, you don't remember? Well, you know why? Well, that's because the story we've been following has jumped all the way from the call of Moses right through the first 9 plagues, and this week's lesson, if you use the alternate reading of the Old Testament, focuses on preparations for the last plague. We have all this stuff that's been going on between Moses and the Pharaoh, and it shows that there's a real confrontation between Moses and Pharaoh. It also shows that there's a confrontation between oppressive powers and the yearning for liberation. But it also shows that there's a spiritual battle going on. There's a battle between the gods. Yes, that's the way it's worded in Exodus. A battle between Yahweh and all these other gods headed up by Amun-Re, who's the king god of the Egyptians. But they have lots of other little underling type gods as well. And we'll get to that in a minute. But hey, let's talk about the lesson for today. The lesson that we have really precedes the last plague. And it's Moses getting from God all the preparations the people are to make to celebrate what's now known as the Passover meal. This is what all of history in the Hebrew scriptures rests upon. It all turns around. It both what comes before and after. All of it rests on the Passover. A lot of the remembrances are about the Passover. God calling the people to repentance. All rests on, hey, remember that promise I made to Father Abraham? And what happened to you at the Passover? Okay, got all that? So, what do? Every year you celebrate a big festive meal, the Passover meal. It is Testy Tuesday, and now I have a question for you. The family was supposed to go out and get a year-old without blemish lamb. Where did they get that lamb from? Where did they get the lamb from? I don't know if you maybe didn't hear that because of the rooster there. Did they get the lamb from their flock of sheep? Their flock of goats? It doesn't matter. You can get one from your sheep or your goats. Or did they go to Tops, Giant Eagle, Kroger, Trader Joe, and buy it there? Okay? So where did they get that sheep from? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, this was too easy, wasn't it? The answer is you could take it from either your flock of sheep or your goats, because actually the word is go and get yourself a kid, not a little human kid, but a young baby goat or sheep. You could use either one of those for the Passover meal. Mostly they were young sheep. All right, so you were to do that, and our lesson outlines all the preparations you make for that meal. And why is it? It's because it's going to be a meal of remembrance, that from this point on you will remember what Yahweh is about to do for you. Yahweh is going to set you free. Some interesting things about this meal. Did you know that there was no priest around or rabbi or anybody with a theological degree? Nope. This is all set in the context of family. It's a family gathering. Well, what if you're all alone and you don't have a family? Well, You can invite yourself, but it would be real nice if your neighbors invited you to join them. It was all about coming together as family. And if you had a single neighbor next door, or maybe just an elderly couple whose rest of their family has passed away and they've outlived them, hey, you invite them in. You do this together. And you do it every year, every single year. Now, I just got to thinking, that was a pretty easy question I gave you, wasn't it? We have to mention the last plague. But before we do that, what was the next to the last plague? Do you remember that? I'll give you a couple answers. Are you ready? It was frogs. Frogs overran the land. It was hail. Hailstorm came down and just wiped out all their crops. It was darkness. Or it was grasshoppers, locusts. That's your choices. Frogs, hail, darkness, locusts. Do you remember the answer? The answer is 3 days of darkness. That immediately preceded the last plague, which is Yahweh passing over the land. And the firstborn of every family, even the family of all the cattle, would die. The firstborn would die. And that's why this meal preparation was so important. Because in the preparing of the lamb, you were to take some of the blood and put it over the doorposts, over the lintel and the doorposts. In that way, when Yahweh made his visit throughout the land, he would leave your house alone. You weren't supposed to leave the house. You had to stay in it, but he would leave you alone. It's a remarkable story. It's kind of a terrifying story. And you wonder sometimes, should we be teaching this sort of thing to our little kids? Won't they go to bed and have nightmares? I don't know. But it was meant to get the people prepared for the journey out, prepared for what was to happen that night, but also in our reading today, it's a preparation for a meal that you will celebrate every year at this time. Every year. Yep, a meal of remembrance. Now where do we hear that? Oh, isn't that what Holy Communion is all about? Isn't that what the Eucharist is all about? A meal of remembrance? Oh. Take this bread. This is my body. Drink this wine. This is my blood. Do it in remembrance of me. Remembrance. You got to remember it. In fact, it's so awesome. It's such a beautiful thing because what Jesus is saying, I set you free. You are free from sin, free from the bondage to sin and death. I have set you free. So free, you can even taste it. God's blessings be with you as you enjoy another gorgeous day. Hopefully it's that way where you are. And, I can taste the bread and the wine on my lips already. On Sundays, while we're not celebrating it as a group in church, be sure to take a little time with a little bit of bread and a little bit of wine. Sit around the family table and remember God's great goodness toward us. Blessings be with you.